Oh, okay. So I'll go back into that then. Okay, very good. Bye.
The 14th of December, Rabbi Levitt, Pele, Yoetz. Yeah, you should call him back, please.
All right, I'm here.
Hello again.
There you are.
Rabbi, are you there? Are you Cami?
Royce is coming in now.
If you're Cami, you're whoever's Cami is muted.
That's the rabbi.
Yeah, you're muted, Rabbi.
Chami, you're muted. Let's try again.
Okay, I can hear you.
Hello?
We hear
Yes,
you.
we can hear you.
Hey, for some reason I'm pushing on the video and it's not working. Oh,
There you go.
Here you go.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Baruch Hashem.
Mayor's coming in. There's Mayor. Morning.
Did I see Robert Lefkowitz here? I saw his name. Let's see here. Let's do the gallery. Okay. Welcome to Robert's. Shalom Aleichem to Robert Lefkowitz, all the way from Florida, Orlando, right?
Yeah.
Wow. We're so happy to see you again. Okay, we're now doing the Sefer Pele Yoetz. Pele Yoetz. And welcome to everybody else as well. Welcome to Lou, and thanks once again to Lou for hosting the meeting.
My pleasure.
And good morning to Roy and Alan and Mayor and Eliezer. And we are, oh yes, we're in the second paragraph of Das on page 163.
We were discussing what is Das.
Right. Right. So we quoted the words of the Mishnah Berurah. Actually, they're the words of the Seder Hayom that the Mishnah Berurah is quoting. One of the Chachmei Sfat that wrote a sefer named Seder Hayom, and in that sefer is your Seder Hayom, is your daily schedule, what you got to do every day. And so that's what he says over there on the bracha of. He's talking over there about the bracha of Das in the Shmoneh Esrei. So that's what Das is referring to. It's not a IQ. That's not the translation of Das, but it's something that we dive into Hashem for, that He give us a seichel and a das yashar, limos bara, v'livchor batov. It's the ability to recognize when we defined Ra and Tov as the Tov is to do the Ratzon Hashem, to fulfill the Ratzon Hashem, and Ra is to do the opposite. And so Das is the characteristic that a person has to be able to choose to do the Ratzon Hashem. And the Mishnah Berurah explained from the Seder Yom that this involves, how do we choose to do the Ratzon Hashem? We start off by having an aversion to doing what is not the Ratzon Hashem. Okay.
Are we talking about choosing, or are we talking about distinguishing?
Well, limos, the lashon of the sefer was limos bara, to have an aversion, a strong aversion to that which is evil, to that which is not the Ratzon Hashem, and thereby having the strength to choose to fulfill the Ratzon Hashem and to do what's tov.
But when we talk about Das, I'm just thinking that Das is not, it's not Gevura, it's not an ethical or moral strength or fortitude. It's knowledge. So I'm thinking maybe the first step is you have to be able to know what is Ratzon Hashem and what is not Ratzon Hashem. And once you can identify or distinguish, then other things have to come into play for you to be able to make the right decision.
Well, I would say as follows. If a person has the knowledge that doing something which is not the Ratzon Hashem is like sticking his hand into the fire, does he have to use willpower and fortitude to keep his hand from going in the fire?
Well, I mean, if there's a Twinkie on the other side of the fire, then he might need more than just the knowledge that he's going to burn his hand, depending on how much he wants that Twinkie.
Uh-huh.
Okay, bring the phone,
So-
please.
So if he thinks that there's a Twinkie over there as well as fire, so that, to my understanding, means he's lacking das. There is no Twinkie over there. All there is fire.
What is a
The Twinkie is the fire.
what's a Twinkie?
Roy doesn't know what a Twinkie is.
It's a snack.
No, I don't. I haven't got the dust to know that.
Ah,
Very good word.
Seems to be something of value.
well, in Roy's terminology, a Twinkie would, I guess, translate into a
snack.
fancy biscuit. How about that? You have a very
I think that's an inappropriate thing to say to.
Roy, a Twinkie was made by a company in the United States called Hostess, and it's an elongated piece of cake with a lot of cream in the middle.
Yummy. You shouldn't have
The
told me that
example,
either
the
today.
purpose of using a Twinkie as an example is it's something that is appealing, but it's really bad for you.
Right, exactly.
Yes, okay.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's not that there's a Twinkie there that you have to, it's a lack of das to say that, oh, there's a Twinkie there and I just have to figure out how to avoid the fire to get to the Twinkie. But it's worth to get the Twinkie in order to, it's worth to get the Twinkie. Or maybe you mean to say it's worth to get the Twinkie even if I might get burned. So that person is lacking, he doesn't have das. He has no das. If he thinks that it's worth it to get a Twinkie and burn and get burned, he's got no das. He needs to develop das to realize that it's not worth it to get a Twinkie in order to, and get burnt as a result.
All right.
I know it's no good for me. I know it's I'm gonna get burned,
Yeah.
but boy, that Twinkie sure does look good. I need some additional strength, even if I know.
Okay. So maybe, so the truth of the matter is that maybe the fact that maybe it's not, I think it's not, my mushal is not correct. Do we have an aversion to fire? That's true. We don't want to get burnt, but do we regard it as disgusting? Do we regard it as repulsive? No, fire is not repulsive or disgusting. It's just dangerous. If we stick our hand into it, it could burn us. But what? Dangerous, and I'm going to get a patch for it, but it's worth it. It's much more than that. So the person has to develop a das, and he has to ask Hashem to help him develop this das, that he has not simply an aversion because of the fact that it's dangerous, but to get burnt, but to be repulsed and be disgusted by the prospect of doing something which is against the will of Hashem. That's what he has to develop. And if he develops that, then I would maintain that he's going to naturally be able to choose to do the Ratzon Hashem. Okay, so again, we're not talking about fire over here. Fire is not something which is disgusting or repulsive. We're talking about evil. We're talking about something which is doing something which is against the Ratzon Hashem. So das means that we have cultivated a perspective and a feeling that to do something which is against the Ratzon Hashem is repulsive and disgusting. It's not simply a fire that we're going to get a patch, we're going to get burnt if we do something against the Ratzon Hashem. That's not what we're talking about. So the mushal that I gave originally is not an exact, not a proper comparison to what we're talking about over here.
I would say that what you're describing is a very high madrega.
Okay. But
So-
that's
No,
Yeah.
Lou, it's as simple as not wanting to eat a cheeseburger.
But you want to find it to be disgusting to eat a
Right.
cheeseburger.
It is.
I'm not at that level. It's not disgusting. There's nothing disgusting about a cheeseburger. Cheeseburgers are very good.
okay. So the truth of the
Cheesesteaks are
matter
even
is,
better.
okay. So the truth of the matter is that there's other ways, shalom lishma ways of avoiding to do something which is against the Ratzon Hashem, other than developing das. And a person should make use of all of those things. What if somebody sees me do this? Right? That's probably the biggest. Concern that a person might have, that somebody might know that he did this. That's much more moving to him than simply the fact that to do this act is if he would have das to know this, is disgusting and repulsive. It's much more of a compelling reason to avoid doing it, because somebody might see him doing it. So that's something to make use of. That's something to make use of. Always be don't be alone, and you'll always be in company of people, and you'll avoid many things that are not the Ratzon Hashem. Absolutely. But in any case, we are defining what das is. This is what das is, and so to the extent that we can develop this, so then that's what das is. Well, we could even say something else. We could even say something else. It's perhaps we could say that das is the ability to say. But if we haven't succeeded in explaining it fully, at least we have done one thing. We've now explained that das does not mean intelligence. Doesn't mean IQ. It's not what we're talking about. Okay. Okay, so let's go to the next paragraphs. Certainly. And we go to Mayor. Please start us off.
Okay, my mic is off. Okay, good, we're on. Certainly, in that which our sages were so severe in punishment and shame of someone who does not possess intelligence was only said about a person who could have learned, yet because of his own negligence, arrogance, and following his evil inclination, did not do so. The intelligence which is discussed here is not the ability to engage in analytical discourse, for learning is not primary. Action is, according to our vote. One requires intelligence to know and to conduct oneself on the straight path according to Torah, as befits every Jew, to conduct oneself with good and upright character, in peace and integrity with every human being, to accept everything with happiness and a good heart, to rejoice in one's portion, to act properly, and to do that which is good and straight in the eyes of God and men. This is what forthright, intelligent, and understanding demand. Indeed, our sages, and so to remark, a person does not sin unless a spirit of folly enters him first. Wow.
So when I'm davening and I say Dea Bina Vaskel, I translate that as inner knowledge, understanding, and common sense. And I'm not sure where I got that from, but it seems to me that that the translation of Dea as inner knowledge is accurate based on what Mayor just read. If you have a knowledge of yourself, an inner knowledge of yourself, then you're going to be able to achieve what's in this paragraph.
Well, I think it's not, I mean, there's many people that have a very profound inner knowledge of themselves, and yet they violate every mitzvah and the in the Torah, no? What does it have to do with inner knowledge? We're talking here about conducting oneself in the straight path according to the Torah. That requires das.
Right, to know and conduct yourself in the straight path. So I'm saying that in order to do that, you have to know yourself very well. You're saying if you know yourself, you can still do averas.
Yeah, because you have to you have to understand that it's important to do the Ratzon Hashem and to not do what's not. It seems to me that a person can have a lot of inner knowledge about himself and understand himself very well, but feel that what's good for himself is to do X, Y, and Z, and the X, Y, and Z are Nisakoris. So I don't see exactly how that is what he's talking about over here. Maybe what you mean to say is maybe he needs an inner knowledge of himself to be able to practically fulfill what he knows the Torah requires of him, and in order to be able to fulfill what the Torah requires of him, which is what he wants to do, because he understands that that's what he got to do. That's the Zeh Kol Ha'adam. That's the whole of man. So he needs to know himself and to know how it is that he can bring out within himself, through his own knowledge of himself, what Hashem demands of him. Maybe we could say that. So there's a das is an understanding that the whole of man involves doing the mitzvahs of Hashem, and he may need a lot of inner knowledge of himself in order to be able to do that. Even if he knows even if he knows even if he knows and values to do the Ratzon Hashem, if he doesn't have self-knowledge, he may I don't know what an example of that would be, but he may not be able to fulfill everything what Hashem requires of him. He may act inappropriately in certain situations because of his lack of inner knowledge.
So maybe that's what it means when it says a spirit of folly. That if there's something lacking in that inner knowledge, then that may be what he's referring to as a spirit of folly, something lacking in the inner knowledge.
Okay.
Because he also says understanding. He says this is what forthright intelligence and understanding demand. So you have to have the inner knowledge, the knowledge of yourself, but you also have to have the understanding. You have to understand that this is the Ratzon Hashem, this is not the Ratzon Hashem.
Yeah, in other words, it's das doesn't simply mean that I know what the 613 mitzvahs are, and I know what the averas are, and I know what the reward is, and I know the punishment, and I know everything that there is to know. But some people might know that, but to them it's like information. It's very interesting, but it doesn't affect. It doesn't move them to act accordingly. Das means that das means that he is that he feels a strong resolve to act accordingly, not simply that he knows the information of what it says in the Torah. That's not called das. To simply know what it says in the Torah is not das. He has to have das to know that is what he has to do, and that is his reason why he's here. If he doesn't know that, then he doesn't really have that das that we're talking about over here. Okay. Okay, next paragraph. We go to Roy. Would you like to read the next paragraph?
The intelligence which is most urgent for a person to have is to recognize in himself that he does not possess intelligence, and to always seek wisdom from every man. All the more so, one should seek understanding from someone who is greater than he in wisdom and years. Additionally, a man can ascertain the straight path from the holy books and their authors. Even if his mind does not agree with theirs, he should nullify his opinion and believe with perfect faith that if their logic seems flawed, the deficiency is his own, due to his lack of knowledge and understanding. Wisdom reposes in age, and the length of days brings understanding. The evil man on earth is that he is smart in his own eyes, and his path seems straight to him. Therefore, a wise man should praise his wisdom when he is astute enough to discern that he does not possess intelligence, and when he recognizes that he does not fathom his imperfections. The wise man has already said, I have no absolute knowledge other than that I knew that I did not know. He also said, I did not know that I knew until I knew I did not know. Therefore, said Shlomo HaMelech in Koheles 1:18, in his wisdom, one who increases knowledge increases pain, because he appreciates more his imperfection, degradation, and loneliness. All of this is in regards to matters of heaven. However, in matters of this world, increasing knowledge will bring joy and happiness and will cause sighing and grief to disappear. This is because, according to clear understanding, there is no reason to be upset, demanding, or angry about anything in this world. For someone who has acquired knowledge, it seems as though he is lacking nothing in this world, and as if the world and all its full belongs to him. Since, anyway, it is all vain and empty pursuit, and everything that God does is for the best. We will write more about this in the work Beit Tefillah in the blessing of Al-Hanan.
So I have a question about the Hebrew. Where it says near the beginning, it says the deficiency is his own due to his lack of knowledge and understanding. What is the Hebrew word for knowledge?
I mean, it's, I think he's saying a simple thing that, he can understand what the straight path that he should do is from Sforim and those that write the Sforim. And when he reads them, and if he doesn't, it doesn't seem to him that that this is really the straight path. He should say to himself that he's the one who's making a mistake over here. That what they're writing is the straight path, and if he doesn't think so, there's something that's not straight in his own thinking and his own knowledge and understanding.
So knowledge is das in this case.
Oh, in other words, what causes him to think that what they're saying is incorrect?
Right.
What type of knowledge are we talking about over here? Let me just see how he puts it over here. V'yamin be'emunah shlema she'im reiku mimenu. If it seems to him that what the author is saying is emptiness, so he should realize that the emptiness is his own. He's the one who's empty. Machmas kotzer yediato, but kotzer havanato. And this is why is he empty? And he thinks that what they're saying is empty is because he does not have. He's deficient in his understanding, and he's also missing in his knowledge, his yediyah. So what does it mean he's missing in his yediyah? I mean, I would say that what he's yeah. He's missing in his knowledge of the reason why he thinks that what the author is saying is flawed is because there's something flawed in his knowledge of Torah. His knowledge of Torah is what's flawed, not the author's knowledge. So I would say Yediyah here refers to his knowledge of what Torah is and his understanding. Havana is his understanding of what Torah says. His ability to understand the foundations and principles of Torah and to apply them to a specific case, and say this is this case. In this case, this is what Hashem would dictate, and in this case, this is what Hashem dictate. He comes out with a different conclusion. He thinks that the author is flawed, so he's supposed to say to himself that even though it truly looks to me like the author has made a mistake over here, he should nevertheless say to himself, it must be that I'm the one that's made a mistake. Because, and why? Because I'm missing in my Torah knowledge and my understanding of it. The author has more Torah knowledge and understanding of the subject than I do.
What is the root of the word Yediyah?
Das.
So what's a person supposed to do if he's in this situation where he feels that something he's learning in the Torah is incorrect?
He should try to find out why it is that what the Torah says. He should try to understand why it is that what the Torah is saying is correct, and where he's making his error.
It's very difficult for us to be to come away from our feeling of us being central. Because of that, then you say, oh, you know, this is incorrect or that is incorrect, rather than the other way around, which is what we're wanting to say. Because the feelings that we have that we are right, it's very difficult, even if you're being logical about it. It's still difficult to get away from it, from the feeling of being correct yourself being correct. Therefore, you've got to find out why that is wrong, rather than the possibility of it being right.
So try to find out what to try to find out why it is that what we're saying is not right, and what the Torah says is right.
It's very, yes, I'm saying it's it's difficult to get to that angle.
Oh, okay, but it's, see, this is the thing like this. We have to always do two things when it comes to learning. When it comes to learning about what the Torah says, we always have to have two pieces of paper in our hand. One piece of paper, and I'm not saying that one is to be used primarily, or they're both to be used appropriately, and that also takes das to know. But the two things are like this. One paper says, if that's what the Torah says, then that's the emes, right? We have to have that das. We have to have that das, that if that's what the Torah says, and we got it right, that that's what the Torah says, then that's emes, because everything what the Torah says is emes. On the other hand, if we have a question about it, so we should try to investigate and try to understand why it is that what the Torah says is emes and what we're thinking is not. Because if we could do that, if we could succeed in doing that, we could at least getting a little bit of a glimpse that what the Torah is saying is emes. So then we will feel better in our emunah that to be able to say yes, that what the Torah says is emes. Because most people are not easily, they don't feel comfortable with saying, yes, the Torah, what the Torah says is emes, but they don't really understand why it is so. It seems to them like it's narishkeit, right? This is the famous story that with the Meir Chodesh, the late mashkiach of Hebron Yeshiva, and he was walking down the hall, and he's all of a sudden he sees two bachrim, and the first bacher is screaming and yelling and insulting and castigating the second bacher. Told you this story before? Okay.
I don't think so.
And so after it's all over, and the second bacher doesn't respond. He doesn't say anything at all. Nothing. So who does Reb Meir Chodesh go over to? The one that screamed and yelled and insulted and castigated didn't go over to him. He went over to the one that was quiet. And he said, why were you quiet? Why didn't you answer back? So the bacher says, oh, in the Chafetz Chaim, it says that, in the Gemara, it says that if someone insults you and you're quiet and you don't say anything, then it's like you're like the sun shining in its brightness, and you're gonna get olam haba for it. And Reb Meir Chodesh says to him, do you understand that? Does that make sense to you? And the bacher says, frankly, no. So Reb Meir said to him, oh, so according to you, that what the Torah gives great reward for narishkeit. So the bacher was silent. And so Reb Meir proceeded, and he said, you have to understand why it is that Chazal say what they say and what the Torah says what it says. Why should you not answer back? Because that other bacher that was berating you and attacking you, at that time that he was doing that, he was acting like an animal. He was acting like a cockroach. Right, Alan? That's the cockroach part in him. Now, is it logical to be insulted when a cockroach insults you? And if you would answer back and do the same thing to him, then you would also be a cockroach. Would you like to be a cockroach? Is that something that makes sense to you? To act like a cockroach? So what do I learn from this story? That Reb Meir Chodesh was trying to explain to this bacher that it's not a healthy thing to walk around thinking and acting and conducting yourself according to the Torah, which is emes, if you think that emes is narishkeit, and you don't understand why it's not narishkeit. That's not a way to go. That's not a way to go.
7:31.
The Torah does not pay for narishkeit. The Torah pays for emes, for tov.
To
And that's the emes. Okay, so speaking about emes, we will now conclude our remarks about emes and das, and say goodbye to Mayor and goodbye
Have a
to
good day,
Eliezer.
everyone.
Have a good day, everyone.
Good day.
All the best.
Okay, be well.
All right, have a good day. Thank you, Rabbi.
And we'll be back soon. And Robert, we're happy to have